Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting here on United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from beautiful New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at, you guessed it, Folgers Coffee, who have been part of our journey since the very beginning, and we hope until the very end. We are also sponsored by Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, aka Justin Snicker. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween horror, sci-fi, dark wave electronic music, and his music can be found anywhere that good music can be found. Today, Amelia and I actually pre-recorded the interview with Dr. Terje Simonsen, or Simonsen, as he would say. And he was basically picking up where he left off with his book called A Short History of Nearly Everything Paranormal. Tonight, you can find Amelia and I and the show airing on Facebook, The Outer Realm, of course. Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover, Canada's Most Haunted, UFO Paranormal Radio, and United Public Radio. And we head over to YouTube on UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials, UFO Paranormal, and of course, our very own Outer Realm. So if you like the content, please give us a subscribe. Show us some support. We love and appreciate you, and we are very appreciative of the support. Tonight we will be in chat. We had a bit of technical difficulties, so we're doing things a little bit different tonight. Hey, Zach. I will be here on the soundboard. I will be able to put up your comments, and Amelia and I will do our very best to answer them, and we will post the answers also up on the screen. But like I said, we had a little bit of tech difficulties getting started today, and now, okay, Amelia says right now she is on the Outer Realm Facebook, and I'll make sure I man YouTube. But either way, all comments and answers will be put up here on the screen. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to drop out, and we are going to get started with the actual after, of course, the tech difficulties is where the recording is going to start. Hey, Adriana, Zachman, Michelle, and Bubbles in the house over on Facebook. So let me drop out. Let's get the show on the road. Amazon.
Yeah, we're belly aching.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm acceptably well, thank you.
Oh, fantastic.
What's the weather like on your side of the world right now?
Right now it's rainy, but we have had some sunny
Here
days,
too.
so it is say early summer.
Yeah, it's like here. It's the same. It hasn't. We had a few good days where we hit 30. Celsius, and now we're at 22 and waking up to 11 because of the rain. So it's feeling a little bit like October, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No, here it has been quite warm the last days, but today it's a rainy day.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's okay. Here too. It's raining here too. But I love the storms. They're soothing for me.
I like the variation, if it's just hot all the time, it's getting too much in a way. So 2 days a week with rain or gray weather is very
it's
good
nice.
for me. Yeah.
I like it. I personally like it. I love thunderstorms. So.
I prefer when it rains at night.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
It does. Really.
Yes. It is very nice.
That's why I want a tin roof.
Excuse me?
I want a tin roof so that when it rains,
yeah.
I can fall asleep to that. I can fall asleep to that. So
I don't need a tin roof, it's a normal roof is quite sufficient to get the effect.
Yeah, no, I want a tin roof because I want to
keep you up all night.
No, not me. It just puts me to sleep. I put it on YouTube on a thunderstorm and it's a blackout, and I just leave it on all night so I could sleep. I hear a lot of voices, so for me, I need that white noise.
To get away from.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you back.
It's a pleasure being here.
Oh, thank you. The conversation is going.
I will tell you. I have a kind of written agenda where I say plot in every engagement I have with different media and so. And for this date, what is specified. Then tonight I will be on air with the two nice ladies.
Oh,
thank you. We look forward to having you.
We think so. I'm sure there'd be a lot of people listening because the last show did really, really well.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There was a huge
absolutely
interest in your conversation for sure.
Oh, for sure. And there was just so much. We figured we're going to need a part 2 for sure. And here we are. So why don't we just start off by recapping a little bit about just to catch people up. And for those who missed the first show, you should go check out the archive. First off, is what you all should be doing. But just to pick up where we left off a little bit, recap, tell us a little bit about yourself and the book, and then we'll go from there.
That's good. I will just. Can I just? Do I have time to adjust my screen a bit?
Absolutely. You should have seen what we did before you got on.
Aside from belly aching about Amazon, sorry.
Oh, I've had nothing but tech issues. Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's this is a running text at the bottom, and it's appears a bit visually confusing to me.
Oh, our little runner at the bottom.
Yes, this what is called this line running at the bottom all the time.
Do you want me to remove it?
If you have the possibility.
I can do anything. Hold on 1 second. Bam. Magic.
Fantastic. Thanks. Magic.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah. It's a little
I think a friend of mine, he thinks I'm autistic, and he might be right, and there is in fact also a connection between this kind of savantic autism and the paranormal, because this openness and a certain, say, permeability of the ego. So right. I get very easily disturbed by if we are in a cafe and there's sitting a person, what is called having a spoon in his coffee in the other side of the room, I will hear it. And so when this text is running at the bottom here, it drags my attention away from you.
Right.
I'm like that too, but Michelle calls me a squirrel. I can pick up everything everywhere. I would have made a really, really good detective because I can pick up stuff from everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. I will tell you a great story that I heard earlier today, but should I save it for later in the program?
No, it's your show.
Like to go. Yeah.
A friend of mine, she is taking an exam at the university in Belgium, and it's about animal psychology, and she had been up to her last final exams, and they had asked questions that she had not, read the books for. It was the side effects of serotonin and melatonin and GABA and all these kind of things. And she is a very intuitive person, and she had not read, say, the curriculum for these subjects. She had, say, missed and read some other book for this exam, and she started just to opening up and tuning into the intuition and she started to just jot down what came to her from this mental field, collective consciousness, whatever we should call it. And she ended up having 18 correct out of 20 questions without having read the curriculum.
Oh,
wow.
She was one of the best in her class.
For sure.
Wow, good for her.
So she was so stunned about that. She didn't know how she did it, and she's very natural, intuitive. She does not have a very, say, elevated, say, technique or studying occultism or anything like that. She's just, as I said, this was an exam related to study of animals. So she is a natural, say, animal communicator. Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
She's living have been living in Thailand for many years, and she went to a kind of sanctuary for retired elephants because, from the Buddhist perspective, they are also soul. And she started to communicate with one of the elephants there, and the tamer, he said he had never seen anyone having that direct and immediate contact with elephants before.
I love elephants.
That's amazing, though. I
was fortunate enough to be able to ride on one when I was about 11 or 12 years old at the Toronto National Exhibition, and I almost didn't go, and my brother pushed me. I had such a connection that I didn't want to get off the elephant after, and I was angry that they had the elephant closed in just for this.
Yes, of course.
It was strange to have that understanding so young.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she has also that kind of understanding.
She's exceptional. She's exceptional. She went to a sanctuary. It's different.
Yes, and also I must tell you that, and just stop me if you want to speak about, Renaissance Hermetism or Aleister Crowley or whatever.
We'll follow your lead.
Because as I said, she's living in Thailand, and they have a little dam in the corner of their garden, and that is kind of artificial dam, where they have concrete under, and they have had to do some repair on the concrete, and there are some snakes living in that dam usually. Yes, they are not extremely dangerous, but still they are slightly poisonous, So when they were to repair that dam, she went down and speaking calmly to the snakes and explained the situation to them, and please, when will use your water for a period of time, please don't get aggressive and bite anyone, because it is no harm and the water will be back, and so on. And as she told me, that they did not bite any of her cats or dogs, and she have taken from the streets a number of cats and dogs, and adopted them.
She sounds amazing.
That's nice.
She
sounds amazing.
And today awesome. She was on her exam, as I said, and getting the answers more or less straight out of the air, and 18 out of 20 questions correct without having read the curriculum.
Oh.
That's impressive.
That's very impressive.
Definitely what she should be doing.
Yes, I think so. I'm quite convinced about she's have this natural gift. So also I can say. Part of my book. Have we presented the book this time around?
Well, we haven't yet. I had it on the screen. See?
Okay, you have had it on the screen.
Well, see, look,
you can give us a brief introduction. You can give us an introduction.
There we go.
But don't visual in the front page or this cover.
Yes.
You haven't.
No, we have not.
No.
This is.
Will I be allowed to show it to?
Absolutely. It's your show.
The link to Amazon for your book.
Yes.
Is in the write up for the show, so people wherever they go, they can go click on it right there.
But here is the English version, and here is the Czech version. So
they
are quite
that's
similar,
a beautiful cover.
Thank you. I like it quite a lot myself. So.
Yeah. Awesome.
But as a part of the preparation for writing this book, or as I'm saying, my personal interest also, I interviewed I think it must be close to 100 professional psychics from so many different traditions. Norwegian, of course, Sami tradition, Native Americans, the First Nation Canadians, Jamaica, Gypsy, Rom people, and all that. And two of those clairvoyants that I have dealt most with, they also have told about similar experiences, sitting on the exam at school and suddenly just knowing the answer without knowing how they know. And one of them even got problems with her teacher because of that, because you have to somehow demonstrate how you reach an answer, not just present 3.2. You must so that's the weight of the molecule or whatever, but you have to demonstrate how you calculated this, and she couldn't do that. She just knew the answer, So extremely intuitive people seem to be able to download this on at will.
Yes, which is fascinating. The human brain is only a portion
Yes.
explored. So you can imagine if we were using it to our full potential. And obviously, there's some people who use it to a much bigger potential. It makes you wonder, though, if we had that ability, could we physically handle it?
Well, that is also some I write about in my book, that the most famous psychic in Norway, he passed away, say 1.5 years ago, and he was extremely impressive, both as a healer and finding missing persons for the police and for the Red Cross and so. And he said, it's a miracle I have not become completely mad, because
Wow.
when he was presented to a person as a healer, he received close to 50,000 persons from all over the world. Yes. And
Crazy.
he took in their history, their anxieties, their suffering, something that would happen in the future, and something that had happened a long time back in the past, So he was filled with that information, and getting this overload can be extremely exhausting. So he said that, but he had a kind of strong religious say conviction, is it called? He was somehow felt he was destined to do this work, and somehow was able to more or less put the burden away to the higher force in a way. So, but he said it could be very challenging. So,
Yeah.
also some friends of mine visited him at home, and they told also he suddenly, he touched one of my friends and suddenly said, I feel your dad is not not very nice to you, and all this, and it's just like, say, watching 5 movies at the same time, and some of them are horror movies, and some, of course, are nice, but it's so much impression, so it can be overload.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that, especially if you're very empathic, you would feel I think the emotional part of that can be so much worse. I my empathic abilities I've just learned at an early age I can push that aside. But Amelia is like really tuned in. My daughter was the same. You could just walk by and I'll just break down and I'm just like, wow. She goes, oh, somebody died there and I could pick this up, or there's
Yes.
something going on there. And I'm just like, that would be terrible. For me, I shelved that, but I seem to that's maybe part of my abilities. I've been able to shelve a lot of things. And, but I know Amelia sometimes just like from every
It can be draining.
yeah.
When we work, it's really hard. Like
Mhm.
I'm completely, when we're done working, I
Mhm.
am
Yes.
completely out. Like I can't, I'm overtired, so I have to stay awake, but my body feels
Yes.
like I've been through the flu without any
Yeah,
help.
I understand.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's really difficult. But all I do is when I'm driving, like I tunnel focus now, tunnel vision,
Mm,
and focus on what's in front of me in my
Mhm.
everyday life, and I've learned to turn a
mm,
lot of it off. But
Mhm.
then again, because of the pandemic, I really haven't been in public places with a lot of people in a while, so I
uh-huh.
don't know
Yes.
what it's going to be like when I get back out
Oh,
there. But
yes.
Mhm.
yeah, being a strong empath is hell, especially if you go through, if you're visiting a country, or you're looking at somewhere where there's historical
Yes.
trauma and
Yes. Yes.
war and things like that, where I happen to live on land where the War of 1812 was actually fought.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Mhm.
So it can be very overwhelming just walking through
Mm,
my backyard. So
mm,
yeah, it's hard. I can drive
mm.
by and just start crying because there was a fire nearby.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
used to be a school way, 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 way back. I
Mhm.
didn't know. I'm not from this area. I moved to the city from Toronto,
Uh-huh.
and
Okay.
I could never drive by, and I always had to take the street because my daughter's best friend lives there to drop her off.
Mm, mm.
Mhm.
I could never drive by without hyperventilating, anxiety, and crying. And then
Exactly.
one day I stopped my truck and I looked and I went, "Oh my God, there's a bunch of kids just at the window screaming, they're on
Yeah.
fire."
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And yeah, that is
That's hard.
it's a
Uh,
blessing and a curse. I think it takes years to learn what Michelle said, how
mm.
to turn it off.
For me, it was
I
always been easy, on, off, on,
Yeah,
off.
I
And I
can't.
Okay.
wow.
Yeah. No, a friend of mine, he's from more north in country. I'm living at the tip of south of Norway. Norway is a very, say, long, narrow, long country.
Yeah.
And a guy that I know, he's living in northern country. In fact, he is the nephew of this great psychic that passed away. Excuse me, there is some battery issue here. I will just have to.
No problem.
No problem.
Yeah, it must be that kind of day, because all three of us,
tongue tied.
I will just have to change a bit here. Just to give me 5 seconds.
No problem.
I gotta mute to cough.
Guys, just do what you gotta do. We're just gonna go. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I woke up like an hour ago.
No.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, daytime is it's not for the vampires.
No, I don't do well in the daytime. Uh-oh, we've lost Terje.
He's probably rebooting because he has to plug in.
Oh.
We might need to start this show from now.
I think it might be a little late. Yeah.
We're already at 1:30. We're already half hour in. Yeah, that's
wow.
For
me to end it, I would have to completely reset up all over again. So it's like, oh no. But you know what? I'm back, I think. Not.
Hello.
There we are.
We
no
just
picture.
need you
to
allow your camera.
I hope it will continue to work. No, just a moment.
Part.
No, so
I
will press. You see me now?
Now we can see you fine. Yes.
There you
go.
Shall I just continue from where we left?
Yes.
Okay. This nephew of this famous psychic in Norway. I write quite a lot about him in my book. This old guy that died, he was, as I say, consulted by so many. But also it seems to run in the families because one of his children has these abilities, and also and also his nephew. And this nephew told me that it made if he was at a football match, for instance, he suddenly would feel pain in his back, and then. The person on the left told him he had some back injury or something, or he would be in a party and suddenly would feel kind of a migraine coming on him, and then the lady of the right, of course, had migraine, so he was picking up unconsciously all the time. And it was very stressful for him. So he did lots of walking in nature, to ground himself.
Yes.
But I think he told me it took years before he was able to say open and shut and open and shut. So no, he uses this as a healer. When he works as a healer, of course, he opens. And when he is going to the store and there's 20 other people there, he shuts down. So he is. But he told me it took quite a long time to regulate this flow of
information. When you shut down as a medium and something does get through, you have to respond, because that has to be some powerful energy to get through your shield of closing off everything. So I feel it's important to recognize that message and try to carry it out or assist when it's like that.
Definitely, but you have to cultivate. I often, perhaps it's a trivial, say, metaphor, but I compare to play the violin, because people say, "Oh, it's terrible. It sounds terrible, and it's not possible." But after training, you get beautiful sounds. So
my father was self-taught in violin.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but I can't play an instrument.
No, but you can play the instrument of your soul, So
there we go.
That was smooth.
Well, there's got to be something to this, to the whole, the abilities, the gifts, psychic phenomenon, because it's been used throughout centuries. Kings would have oracles and seers. People would flock. A king would go into battle. Before going into battle, would have an oracle and say, "Tell me what you see. Tell me how to defeat, this other army." Even we can get technical, but I'm even military for sure,
Oh,
even
yes.
in modern times, CIA, all of it. So there's definitely something to all that. And from a parapsychology standpoint, makes you wonder, why would all of these big organizations put money into learning more about them, utilizing them? I don't know.
I have a chapter in my book about the military use of these phenomena. It was a program, probably many of our viewers know this program from before, but I can mention it's called Stargate, and they trained spies to use clairvoyance. They call it remote viewing in the military term, to use that to locate, say, enemy positions and maneuvers, and the enemy at that time, as partly today, it was Russia, or Soviet Russia at that time. So they tried to and all those involved in the program, the physicists, the agent, the officers, said that these things are working, but the stability of the phenomena was the problem, because if you have slept bad that night, or have quarreled with your spouse or whatever, so the impressions are very subtle. So it's not always so easy to somehow what is called to get away these kind of sources of error when you're into this. So if you are to base big military operations, with 100,000 people and lots of material and so, and the impression comes from a person that has had a bad night's sleep, that can be tricky, to put it that way. So the phenomena was not deemed unreal in any way, but it was deemed kind of not fully reliable always, and that is enough that they might be dismissed by the military as a kind of sound information. You have to have really solid evidence, of course, to start big maneuvers and operations.
Absolutely. Because even now, I'm just trying to see if my memory serves me correctly. Was it the Soviets who used Baba Vanga?
It was
She was Ukrainian?
Bulgarian, but
Bulgarian.
of course they
Okay.
were in the, say, East Bloc, so they were influenced by the Soviets, of course. But
Okay.
it was a kind of Bulgarian icon that was studied by a famous professor in psychology or psychiatry, Georgy Lotsanov, which I also happened to had the honor to meet here in
Very
Norway.
nice. Wow.
So I discuss also that a little in my book. And he said she was famous for her predictions. And he observed her in a period for about 20 years. So he had the possibility to follow up and see whether or not these predictions came true. And he said that about 80% of what she had predicted came true, in fact. So that's impressive.
She had some amazing accuracy, but I believe Nostradamus worked for the de Medici family, and then later for France because of her marriage to the king. I believe that Nostradamus probably had a higher accuracy rate if he could understand what he was seeing, because he saw so far into the future. He didn't know what airplanes were, like his 9/11. His his vernacular was limited. He didn't have everything. He wouldn't know. It was a modern world. I
The
mean,
quatrains are very hard to
times.
decipher also, though.
They're
Yes,
very hard.
that's
But when you look
extremely
at
good
it,
points, both of what you mentioned there. Yes.
well,
Like,
I studied a lot about him when I was first opening up with all of this, and I wanted to understand why there was a connection, and of course they used him to gain the throne and to fight wars. So
yeah.
What is interesting, if you say exactly, he getting his vision back in the 16th century, and they didn't have say planes and such things, and that is also say kind of problem when you go to older UFO visions or sightings. For instance, we discussed him a bit last time, Jacques Vallée, a famous astronomer, and also written lots about UFOs. or no, they
Yes.
called it unidentified aerial phenomenon. That's the new term, I understand.
Right.
But we use UFO. I think everybody will understand
Yeah,
that.
UFO,
I think
UAP.
our generation will always
UAP.
use UFO, but yeah,
Yes,
UAP.
exactly. So
Yeah.
he told, for instance, you have sightings in Germany in the Middle Ages where people describe a ship sailing across the heavens. Yeah, and that was the closest they could come to say,
Yes.
yeah, what is
This is
called
what it is.
retell their vision. So that is of course a problem. Also, you can go to the perhaps you go back to the biblical prophecies from
Okay.
Ezekiel. He also describes some kind of a big wagon
Wheel.
with wheels,
right.
Turning, and so. And of
Yes.
course, a wagon was the most, say, advanced technology probably he knew from his daily life. So you
Eric
use
Van Daniken, when he mentioned the chariots of the gods, like
yes, yes,
gold chariots.
yes.
Yeah, I think it is a matter of just terminology. But I mean, all you have to do is look at Enoch, who was probably the most famous contactee, abductee.
Yes.
You really delve into Enoch, you'll see all kinds of abduction.
Yes.
Like it's all the criteria. Everything is right there. Old paintings. Da Vinci was said to have had ET experiences. Like you could really go pretty far back. And I think it just comes back. Like when I look at an old painting and you see, Mother Mary, for example,
Yes.
and in the background, you see a craft in the sky in the shape of a saucer. You have to say, like, how do we miss that?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Now we're more versed, so we can look at an image or petroglyphs, things like that. We could see, this looks like the type of extraterrestrial it is, which now we know because of technology, the larger head and the big almond-shaped eyes tend to be a gray.
What is also interesting today, yes, very good points. I'm no expert in UFOs, but of course I know some basic things. So
Right.
Jacques Vallée made me
Yes.
aware of this, say that it was very difficult to historically represent what people don't know from their daily lives. So if they saw an angel, for instance, that might or might not, of course, but might be an alien, because
Of course.
wings is the ability to swiftly be from one place to another, like that.
Yes,
And
I agree.
yeah.
No,
So
I agree.
whether or
I
not the
think
wings have feathers or anything, that is trivial. That is not the point of the thing. It's more how you. It's to
they
say
could
also
fly.
yes,
But
exactly.
yeah, absolutely. It's the perception, right? It's
Yes, the
seeing
perception.
something flying.
But it's the mindset as well. Religion teaches you one thing,
Yes.
and science will teach you something else. Ufology will teach you something else.
Yeah.
But
this is why remote viewers and mediums have different languages. That I laugh at books that they say this is psychic language, learn psychic language. I'm like, no, everybody has their own. There isn't a language. It's not like French, German, English. It is your own perception and understanding.
Extremely important, because people ask me sometimes what they have a dream is very strong, and what is the meaning of the symbols. And then I refer to C.G. Jung, the famous Swiss psychiatrist. He said he would never analyze one dream. You have to have a series of dreams, because then you learn the, say, symbolic language of that specific person, and then you will get the true meaning, or at least closer to the true meaning of the dream. So that's very important. Also, I've discussed this aspect with many professional clairvoyants, and many of them are not really, have not a profound understanding of this. For instance, if you have been up to an exam and ask a clairvoyant person, will I, say, pass this exam, or will I, what is called falter in this exam, then there can appear a picture for the clairvoyant person. And but if that, say, pictures shows you with a paper smiling, what does that? Does that indicate you hope to pass the exam, or is it the factual outcome that you?
How are they deciphering it, basically?
Yes. Exactly. You're helping me. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
So yes,
That's why I'm here.
but many psychics do not have a kind of a precise understanding how they function in this respect. But one I discussed with, she said the picture will appear in different colors. If it is, for instance, say you have a fear for not passing the exam, then the pictures will appear in red. If it was your hope, it could be the same picture could appear in white or yellowish, or if in the factual outcome, what will in fact happen with this exam? Will you pass or will you not? Then the vision or the picture will appear blue. So from the picture, scholar, she would be able to decipher the meaning of this picture.
So she associated everything with color.
Yes. Okay. So that is her,
that was her way.
Key to understand. So,
right.
But this as you said here, it has to be learned, and it's so subtle, these things. So people do not generally understand this very well. Not even, say, professional psychics, I have found, after interviewing so many of them. So I was quite impressed when she told me about the different color codes on the picture and how that would give the true meaning of the visions.
It's misinterpretation. I think it's similar to being lost in translation. You just you don't know how to translate and orate what the images are. And I think in that case, it's with some mediums or psychics, it's not that they don't see it.
No,
they're just not putting it out properly. Therefore,
I've done that.
Well, it's like the English language is extremely difficult because it's just one word can mean three things. It's ridiculous. So I think when somebody is trying to put across what they're seeing, if they're not putting it out, it could just be one word that can change everything around, and people will hang off of every word a medium or psychic will tell their clients, every single word. And I don't believe readings are necessarily meant to do that. I believe they're meant to guide you, but it's your free will and your choice. You can walk out, of your door that morning and turn left instead of going right. That's going to change your outcome very easily.
Yeah, that's where the thing changes on a dime. Psychic readings change on a dime comes from. Yeah.
But then again, it's probably also, say, different qualities of readings there, because something is more superficial and some is more, say, what is called stable. If, for instance, I have furniture in my garden, I'm able to move that. I can have it on the right side of my garden or the left side of my garden. But if there is a little rock coming out from the bottom of my garden, I'm not able to move that rock. So I think some things, that is my understanding, at least, that some things in time are rock solid, but other things can be moved. I also use sometimes the metaphor: if you sit on a train, you can choose to be in the passenger wagon, you can be in the restaurant wagon, you can be in the toilet, you're still on the train. But you can, so there is both freedom and limitation in being on that train. And I think also it's a bit like that with life, and also some things I think you cannot avoid, say, for instance, physical death, but how you deal with that can be chosen to some extent. Yes.
I also believe that with psychic reading and a mediumship reading are two different readings. A psychic will get what looks like. A lot of people don't understand that. They think, because I always say a psychic is not a medium, but a medium is a psychic. And they're like, what does that mean? And a psychic will have visions and see things, and some of them have psychometry where they can feel and get something, but a medium's communicating with the other side. So the mediumship read might be a little bit more accurate because they're getting it from your past loved ones or someone who's trying to assist you. And again, it depends on the question. So
now it's very, I'm still struggling a bit with the English language. There are some amazing stories I could have told you, but I think I will somehow stutter too much that it's not really going to be enjoyable for our audience. But I have had some really strong, say, readings long back that I have recorded on audio cassettes, that have been so stunning. And as I used to say, because you can choose something, but not everything. That is, for instance, you can choose to play the national lottery, but it's not so easy to choose to win the national lottery,
Right.
So if a psychic says to you that this and this will happen, and that involves other people or other, say, happenings that you have no control whatsoever over, and and it seems to be able, so the really good, say, mediums then will be able to present you to that kind of facts about the future, which is probably not the future in a linear sense, but is
right.
say a kind of a part of this big eternal now that we probably would have perceived the world to be if we were able to open up, really. So that has because also as Western human beings, we like to think that our will is fully free and I can say whatever I like anytime. Some things you can deal with that way, but I think also I cannot choose the Mount Everest to be there or not be there. I can choose to climb it or not climb it, or climb the left side or the right side. I can choose to fly over it. So there's lots of choices, freedom left there, but I cannot choose it not to exist in a way. So I think we have to also have a bit humility with dealing with some things like that. At least I have felt that some important parameters in our life, we could call that karma, for instance, they are there more or less, but you have to choose how to deal with them, but you cannot say they do not exist.
I agree. To say, definitively that something exists or doesn't exist, I think there's so much about everything within this universe and on this planet, things that happen that people have no explanation for. I don't think you can say 100% that it exists or doesn't exist. We have a very limited understanding, really, even of the human mind. Science will say one thing, but until you've actually are able to utilize it, it's always going to be, an area of study. Because if you really master it, you'll know how to use it.
Well, yes, there is so many. If you read Renaissance philosophy, Pico della Mirandola, for instance, Italian Kabbalist and philosopher, you got the impression you can be always, almost, omnipotent in a way as a human being. I don't know. It might be a kind of overblown ego also. So, but I think, of course, we have much greater powers than we say from day to day think of, but still there is a limit. Even the best magician or the greatest medium will physically die. So I try to find say balance between opening up to great possibilities and great powers, but at the same time, we are still only human, and errare humanum est is this say Latin. It's human to make errors and not master everything. So I try to balance there, and I got friends into ritual magic and so, and I feel they are somehow boosting their ego too much on the behalf of their powers. But on other side, you have people in Christian communities, oh no, I'm just little and I'm so weak, and I'm sinful, and so these two
both
opposites
sides of the coin. Yes. What's frightening?
Excuse me. Yes.
No. So what's frightening is you're talking about, we have all of these abilities and everything you've just said, but now they're talking about connecting the human brain to artificial intelligence.
Yes.
What are they really trying to unfold? I mean, if we don't know our true potential, it's pretty, some people might think, oh, that'll give people opportunities and, connect to the internet, connect to something so much bigger. But
why?
What can they manipulate with that? Can they open up these abilities? And next thing you know, we have a bunch of superhumans just running around, or can it open up the possibilities of utilizing more of the brain, or can they just dumb us up even more? It's frightening when you think of the potential of the mind, and they want to connect it to the internet and a computer.
Yes.
Oh,
I was
I want to
reading
live in a cave.
one of the old Batman stories, the comic stories in the magazines was when the early computers came, and and somehow the computer drained the intelligence from all the persons there, but that computer became an evil computer, and using the super mental powers, to taking over the world. I think Batman stopped it, but it was close. So no, I'm not a tech freak or like that. I know a guy I usually admire, Deepak Chopra. He seems to be quite say positive towards that movement, but it's not to my taste. So
yeah, it's a bit frightening to me. I think I'd probably want to go and live in a cave until they figure it all out, because I'm a bit leery about what may come of it. I know last time you also touched a little bit on the occult. How does the occult, how do you blend that in with, let's say, because I mean, it's pretty ancient, it goes back, occult, magic, dark arts, these ancient magicians go back to the Druids, it goes back to the time of the pagans even. How do you associate that with modern day, like parapsychology? Parapsychology seems to want like the very scientific basis.
That is yes, I totally agree. I compare it a bit with, say, uneducated blues musician to a very theoretical classic professor in music theory. One might be the better guitarist, but the other had all the theories. So parapsychology is a bit like that. It's a very rigorous science, and you have clear protocols and methods, and what is, say, the drawback of that is it's not existential enough in a way, because as Jan Carl Gustav Jung found out, that these phenomena, strong paranormal manifestations, tend to appear mostly when you are in kind of existential engagement in your life. If you are, for instance, in a deep crisis or so, then these powers will be activated much more than if you are sitting guessing cards in a laboratory, So that's kind of superficial. So the raw material for occultism and parapsychology is the same, really. This expanded consciousness and this kind of strange abilities, telepathy and clairvoyance and precognition and all this. So it's the same material, but the dealings with it's quite different. But of course, parapsychology can make, if that is a goal, then these phenomena more accepted within, say, the scientific community, and at least among, say, normal persons without, say, spiritual interests and so. A friend of mine, he is much into statistics, for instance. He is kind of little genius in mathematics, and when he read the statistics for parapsychology, Ryan experiments, when drawing 10,000 cards and getting a percentage, a high score for hits, then that was quite convincing to him as a mathematical mind. So statistic is for him, but for most people, I think it will not be so. Say whether or not what the mathematics will tell you, it's not important for them. But as I said, the occult tradition is very existential, and learning practical how to deal with this, and also how to use it eventually in hopefully for healing and guidance and giving advice and helping people with their existential path. Parapsychology has not that kind of task in its self-understanding in a way.
Right?
No, yes, so it's much more detached. So they're dealing with the same field, but with different angles.
So do you think then that the paranormal, the word itself, is just sort of like a buzzword? It seems to be something that's more modern, like paranormal. I think that the word became very, very popular around the 70s, when you had the skull experiment and things like that. But I mean, I try to dig back into like beyond that. And it's just not like a terminology that was all that popular. I mean, I could be wrong. I haven't researched it.
The word paranormal, it used to be supernatural in the old
Okay, there we go.
Yes,
So
the word
changed,
paranormal is a French origin. It was launched about the 1880s by some
there you
French
go.
researcher. Yes.
Okay.
So and
far back. Wow.
That far back. Yeah, that far back.
Yeah.
Yes. And at that time, France was still somehow the hotbed of science in a way. So it was before the USA took over as the leader in the scientific world. So they tried to somehow make a science about these supernatural phenomenon, and therefore they called it the paranormal. And as we know, normal is normal, and para means, is Greek, means beside. So it's meant to be a neutral term of what is considered beside the normal. So yeah.
Right. So it's a European term, because I know here in the Victorian era of the 1800s, everything was along the lines of the supernatural, spiritualism.
Yes.
The Victorians would like to go have picnics in cemeteries. They would like to go to seances. It was like an entire movement that Abraham Lincoln used to go and participate in these type of seances with his wife. Harry Houdini was trying to debunk everybody.
Yes.
Harry Houdini is just like, yeah, heck with this. I'm just going to debunk you all. It became his mission. But it was a whole movement here too. But I just didn't see the term attached in the Western world. Like, it just seems like all of this in the West was considerably different than what was going on in Europe.
Yes, there were there has been a strong tradition for hypnotism in France, and it started probably back to this Mesmer, Franz Anton Mesmer, who was a German, but he was living in France, and it was in the 1780s and thereabout. He became quite en mode in Paris, very popular, and also they had strong tradition. There was, I write about him, he was an Indian monk really, but Abbe Faria. He is also, Alexandre Dumas in the French writer writes about him in the Count of Monte Cristo, a very famous novel. So Abbe Faria, he was a hypnotist, very famous, and also you got later this what is called Richer. He was also a Nobel Prize winning medical doctor, and he also was the first doing statistic experiments with the paranormal. That is then parapsychology then. So Richer, and also was Freud's teacher, Sigmund Freud's teacher in hypnosis. What is called now? I forgot French names, So, but at least they have a strong, scientific tradition in France about dealing with the paranormal, and very closely linked to hypnotism very often, because under hypnosis people tend to get more open, and also reports of that kind of phenomena were quite common in say French hypnotic traditions, even academic traditions.
Right. Yeah, because here it's just, I think it always takes us a while to catch up. England was deep into parapsychology.
Oh yes.
Like really early on with experiments, and even all the investigations that went on were done through parapsychology. It was all parapsychological research. They didn't tag it to be anything else. And one of the cases that I'll mention, if you are familiar with it, was the Enfield poltergeist case.
Yes.
It started off with a parapsychologist who was in there doing research before they brought on Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were here in North America, and then they went over with the whole paranormal type of investigation. Yeah. So apples and oranges.
Yes. Right. And if you look, you spoke about Britain here. The SPR, Society for Psychic Research, which is still up alive and kicking today. They had a kind of split tradition there, because there was the scientists on the one hand, members, and also the spiritualists, and it has been so, but they tended to go more toward the scientific side, and some of the spiritualists, they did not like the, disrespectful methods for research, doing laboratory research on these holy phenomena. We shouldn't do that, they felt it was disrespectful. So, but it has been kind of a mixed bag, this SPR, because as I said, some of them were quite spiritualistic, but they became what is called they became fewer and fewer, and the scientific aspect became stronger and stronger.
I like the combination, because you're familiar with the Philip experiment.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Right. And that, I thought that was really well done, and it seemed to have a little bit of a blend of both. They had that spiritualist aspect to it, but yet it was a very regimented and well planned experiment. And it was successful.
Oh yes, I was quite impressed by that, and it was run by a professor in medical, what is called statistical analysis and genetics, and he was British originally, I think, but left and went to Canada and conducted. It was at Toronto, wasn't it?
I think so.
He started out as a professor in Cambridge, if I don't remember wrong here, and he also conducted quite impressive experiments with the famous English medium and healer Matthew Manning.
Right.
Yes, and he even, put some kind of sensors on his brain, and measuring the brainwave patterns and all that kind of thing. So it's rigorous science, but as you said, also open to the spiritual aspect.
Yeah, it was really, really well done, much like school. Sorry, Amelia.
No, it's okay. This is a little bit off. I wonder if all of these mediums from the past that are so well known, because there weren't that many that had come forward, if they would be still considered as famous and as accurate nowadays, with so many people coming forward. There's a lot of good mediums and psychics out there, and a lot of incredible healers. But of course, they wouldn't be able to do what they did if these other greats didn't pave the pathway for them. But I just sometimes wonder, would they still have known about them? Would they still be as popular or as interesting had they lived today?
It's difficult to say, but of course, great spiritual masters as the Buddha and the Christ, they are. I think they would have impressed people today. So
that yes, but I mean, like Baba Vanga, Nostradamus, this other medium that you refer to in England. I wonder if they would have been as as famous as revered now, because there are so many people, and just like maybe someone who's really, really good in our time right now would have been much more recognized then, because they stand out more, because there wasn't as many, and it was much lynched. That's right, because religion had a huge influence then. Now and now it's an understanding of metaphysical and spirituality as opposed to religious and fundamentals.
It might be also depend to some extent on a coincidence. For instance, I have also been quite a lot into music, and you can say, if Beethoven had lived today, would he be as great as he is? Wouldn't he disappear in a flotilla of other competent jazz musicians also, or would he still be a kind of unicum in our time? It's difficult to say, but it seems to be kind of unique power in his music. So, and it might be also with this, but of course there are also other composers that somehow disappeared from history that a musicologist will find, and certainly, why did we hear about him? Yes, because he became he was sacked because he was opposing the king he worked for, and thereafter nobody heard from him, because he lost all his money, became sick and died. That kind of story also. So and also I have come to consider more often in modern times. I don't know if that's right, but I'm probably influenced by friends of mine living in the East, that karmic aspects might be a part of this as well. Seems to be a karmic pattern of some people to gain fame and fortune and so, and others not. And if that is just, and so it's so big questions. I don't know. And,
no, I know. I think about that sometimes. I have weird thoughts. My mind goes everywhere. But I think about that sometimes. Now with the composers, greats like Mozart, Beethoven, and Tchaikovsky and Chopin, I believe they paved the way for music, to be honest with you, because
Yes.
pianoforte was not what it is now
Exactly.
then. So yeah, I
I
believe they
think
were
there's a
put there
huge
for a
connection though
reason.
with
Excuse me?
music and what we call the paranormal, because I believe everything has to do with vibrations and
Yes.
frequencies.
Yeah.
Therefore, I think music paves the way on many levels, especially with frequency.
Yeah.
Especially
So
even you look
voice
at
too,
even
vocals as well,
that's
opera
right.
singers.
But Beethoven
Yeah.
was deaf in one
Yes.
ear, and he would play with his head down on the piano for
Yeah.
tone and
To
things.
Tone
feel
and
the vibe.
vibration.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So
And the famous American, she was deaf also and blind, Helen Keller.
yes, that's right.
Yes, she enjoyed music by just feeling the
That's right.
vibrations. Yes, so
Exact. I had a
Yeah.
deaf cat that used to do that.
Oh.
It would lay on a speaker and it would just it was just strange.
Fantastic.
It was
Very
soothing.
strange, yeah,
It
to
was
watch.
soothing.
Yeah, to watch
Yeah, it
him.
was probably soothing for the cat.
But it's all, it's all about frequency and vibration. I've seen spirits just, doing like investigations, for example. We're working with trying to get responses. And I remember in one specific area when it was in the middle of nowhere. And there was like maybe if we were lucky, we had access to one radio station. And I
Okay.
used a piece of equipment working with radio frequencies to see if we could get the spirit to communicate, because the spirit apparently, according to the homeowners, loved music.
Yes.
So
Oh, nice.
so I would just ask questions such, questions as, oh, do you like jazz? Can you show me,
Yes.
play something with jazz? I'm like, I have one radio station that
Uh-huh.
was being picked up. The chances of my getting anything in the normal spectrum would
Yes.
be slim. It played like rock,
Yeah,
that was it.
yeah. Mhm.
I asked questions based on jazz, or I'd say things like, oh, you must love the King. Elvis Presley came on.
Yes.
I went jazz. It was like, there was something like Dean Martin. I came up with, I said, yeah, give me some more old Blue Eyes. Bam, Dean Martin. Country.
Fantastic.
Bam, country. And I'm thinking, I know I do not have all of this at one station, and I couldn't
No.
pick up anything else. But yet
Interesting. Very
this was
interesting.
on demand.
Oh, fantastic.
It was different. It was a different type of experiment. It worked out very much in the favor of the investigation.
Have you written about this, or have you published it in any way?
No, but feel free. Yeah, no, I don't write. Everybody says, you're going to
You
write
need
a
an
book?
idea for
I don't
another
have
book?
time. I don't have time to write a book.
I say that as well.
Yeah, I don't have time to write a book.
Okay.
Are you kidding? Maybe one day. I'll probably have a
Mhm.
foot in the grave by that time comes out. But
Okay.
but it was an interesting
Of course.
interesting experiment. So when we talk about music and frequencies and vibrations, and
Yes.
I believe that spirits do somehow connect,
Mm.
or the otherworldly definitely have a way of connecting to all of that easily.
Mm.
I mean, you can heal the body with frequency.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Music is a classic healer. In the old Greek rituals for healing in the temples, they use music. This lyra,
Singing bowls.
Yeah.
To use singing bowls.
I have one Buddhist singing bowl here. It's beautiful. Shall I fetch
It
it?
is.
Yeah,
Yes.
of
Oh
course.
yeah, they're beautiful.
I love show and tell.
I know, it's great.
Show and tell works for me. I'm a visual learner.
There we go.
I have a singing bowl, but I'm not going to get up to get it.
Here it
There
is.
you
Yes,
go.
that's what I have. That's a
Yeah.
singing bowl. I have the same one, the little one. So soothing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can hear it very faintly.
I have the same one.
Yeah, there you go. They are very soothing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. See, people, that's how you
It works.
zen out. That's how
I
you
have,
zen
and
out.
you can get them on Amazon. Just say
I know.
I bought it
Not
from.
today.
We have some Buddhists in Oslo. They have been going to the Tibet and bought them there. We have also a center for Tibetan Buddhism in Oslo called Karma Tashiling, and they have rituals and they're using those bowls.
Yeah, and if you can't purchase one, you can go on YouTube and find sound baths.
That's right.
And listen to them. They're very, very healing. They're amazing. If you just do your yoga breaths and listen to that, and you'd be surprised how amazing that is for you.
I also have a kind of wind harp here, which is supposed to hang in the garden, and the wind will move. And there's tubular bells with an old Chinese scale, pentatonic scale, and it's so harmonious. I once had a visitor here, and I just, moved this little and she went immediately into kind of trance. It was kind of special. So, yeah, music really has something. I think I had been mad today if it had not been for music. I come from a kind of difficult childhood in a way, so I used music very much as a healer in my own life.
Me too.
Yeah, even listening to binaural beats, just there's just so much to it all. And I think I know with many people that I've worked with over probably the last 5 years, especially, and learning more about frequencies and such. Especially I find with people who are grieving now, in the last 2 years, especially making that connection and getting people to start listening to different healing frequencies. And it's amazing. They'll write me back and say, "Oh my God, that was just amazing. What else would you recommend?" And I'm just like, you need to go with what you feel. Try different ones and see how it makes you feel inside, how it makes your spirit feel, how it makes your body feel. Listen to it before you go to bed. And speaking of that, you made mention of a gentleman who works or made comments about dreams and dream interpretation. Do you feel we communicate more at night? Like, do you feel that we're doing, like, some people believe they'll call it, like, our producer calls it dream weaving, people connecting up in their dreams.
Yes. I'm quite convinced. I have also one chapter, or at least a big part of one chapter, about dream telepathy, that famous experiments conducted by Professor Stanley Krippner. And clearly, I cannot go into the methodology, but they say tried to project pictures into other people's dreams and in a laboratory, and then they woke up the sleeper and the dreamer, and he or she had to recollect which picture was, say, predominant in their dream. Quite what is called lots of labor to do these experiments, of course, but they did for about 10 years they did these experiments. It's so it's solid, statistically corroborated, the ability to, say, project images into people's dreams. And of course, you do this spontaneously. If you, for instance, 3 o'clock in the night, thinking about a loved one, a relative or a friend or a lover like that, I think it's chances are quite good that on some subconscious level, if it's a normal person, that person will perceive that. But also, if it is a kind of awake person, I will not use woke person here, but awake person, that person will even be able to be able to say be conscious about that kind of communication. I don't know if I told that last time. I went in Gestalt therapy for many years with an old wise woman, and she was quite savvy at these things. Because also a friend of mine went to the same therapist. She was a Gestalt therapist, but she also had read all these books of Castaneda, Carlos Castaneda. Yes, social anthropologist working with the shaman in New Mexico.
Wow.
Yes. A long story about it. Some say the books are just fiction, others say they are real, but some say it doesn't matter because the phenomena are real, even if there's a biography of this shaman he works with is not, say, factual. Anyway, I was, as I said, me and my friend, we were going to the same therapist, and we were on a cafe, and and we were discussing our experiences with this very clever and very savvy therapists. And next time I went to her, I said, last week, me and my friend Swain, we were talking about you. And then she tuned in. Was it last Wednesday about 12 o'clock? And it
Wow.
was, yes.
Oh.
So she had felt that,
Right.
So was, and able to even pinpoint the time it had happened. So, so we are
That's
communicating.
fascinating.
Yes, it's fascinating, and I think we are communicating. We are dream weaving all the time. Yeah, again, Carl Gustav Jung said there is always going on a dream deep down in our subconscious. So we are connecting this. But when you are relaxed, of course, your mental filters are on a little vacation. So you more easily take in that, and that is also a functional aspect. For instance, if you're out driving in a traffic, that demands your attention. You should not focus on your 30-something family members or like that. You could crash easily. So you have to navigate your daily life, and then these impulses should normally not take up too much of your field of vision in a way.
What happens to those moments where you're driving home and you don't even understand or comprehend how you got there?
Yeah, I know.
That happens a lot. Where you're on a highway and it's an hour drive, and all of a sudden it's like, what do you mean it's my exit? We have a lot of highways here, so it's like that's not. We have 6-lane highways on the 400 series. That's not something you want to be doing. Is daydreaming. But,
I was thinking more like driving in a city, with honking cars all around, and you have to really.
Yeah, no, I wonder. I'm wondering about that. I'm thinking out loud because it's happened to me a few times, and I know Michelle and I have talked about that, and we always wonder: is it lost time or are we daydreaming? Like,
please repeat the last words.
We're like I always say, is it lost time, like an ET kind of thing, or are we daydreaming? Because we literally don't understand how that hour just passed.
I understand. I think it might be just I have not gone really deep into this, but the humming of the engine, that's just kind of a little singing bowl down there. So I think that might stimulate your alpha frequencies or even your theta frequencies. So therefore you go into this kind of meditative state if you are on a long country road. That
okay. So scientifically, yeah. My truck is really loud. I drive a Hummer. It's loud.
Okay, yeah. So it is humming then.
Yeah. It is, but it's a loud.
Okay. Yeah. But always I told you that I feel sometimes a bit autistic in a way, and they say children that are autistic, they like to sit in front of the washing machine, going round and round and round and round and round and round and round, and then you have the meditative aspect. So I think we all on one level are some kind of susceptible to that kind of stimulation. And as I said, with the humming engine and not the honking and all the other cars, I think that will somehow trigger this frequency following response in a way.
Focus, frequency, vibration. It's also the things that are necessary to be under hypnosis.
Yes,
which we talked about yesterday.
Okay. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Again, frequencies.
Yeah. Frequencies are everything. Michelle sent me some really good ones that I can just put on my Bluetooth speaker and just leave in the background because I love to cook, so I'm always in the kitchen. So I'll just leave those frequencies going in the background, and they're so soothing.
I remember last time we discussed also this binaural beats. I used Holosync quite a lot, and also this other famous system, Hemisync. So it's you can do so much with frequencies.
Binaural are huge for me. I love these binaural beats meditations. You put them in your ear, and you're supposed to it's supposed to help you fall asleep at the end of the hour. I am out cold before 5 minutes. I'm just gone.
Yes.
I'm just gone. So they work for me. If they don't work, then I know that something's around me disturbing me. But yeah.
Yeah, I understand. When I started, I got quite fast. I got 3 notable results from binaural beats. I was very often sitting in a quite crowded cafe at that time, and when people are, suddenly they are pushing you with the chairs or, scumping, and so I'm only human. I became irritated, But after using the binaural beats for 2 months or so, I became glad when people were touching and pushing me. It was kind of experience human contact in a way. So it changed my attitude
It's
towards
consciousness, right?
Yes.
I think humanity is going to need something on loop right now, going back to the public and crowds, because we've been out of it for so long.
Oh yes.
I think it's going to be something that's necessary.
Yeah, but I
I
think
don't know.
people are also just losing their minds out there, because after 2 years of not being in all of that, I just noticed it on the roads. People are just like in a hurry. It's get out of my way. I'm just like,
yeah.
chaos.
You can't catch the virus by driving next to someone. Just saying, relax.
I feel more the other way around, that I am seem to be very keen on hugging people because it's so long time since.
Well, I'm Italian. We hug everybody. We hug everybody. We meet people in the grocery line and we're hugging them and kissing them. Yeah, we're terrible. But I think it's no, I don't know, but I feel like the world needs a frequency on loop right now. That's just my opinion.
But what I wanted to just bring up here, probably you have noticed that it's about 2 weeks ago, there was an open hearing in the Congress in the United States about UFOs.
That's right.
Yes, yeah. There's another one coming.
Yes. So that is very. I heard the whole thing, in fact, because it was transferred, via YouTube directly. So it's very, very interesting new sign, And these are people, and it was what is called bipartisan, also not just the Democrats or the Republicans, but they had a committee agreeing on, yes, we have to look closer into this. So. Our time is coming, I think.
Well, I think when they did the preliminary disclosure last year,
yes,
there were a lot of questions raised, and it was just a prequel to the congressional hearing. But it's I like to think the time is coming. I mean, they've always had projects going, like Project Blue Book. That was one of the last big ones.
Yes.
They've always had something going where they're looking into it. But when you have people like astronauts, and you have people like Paul Hillier, who was our Minister of Defense for many years.
I remember you told me about
that. There's a lot of whistleblowers coming out, including past presidents.
Yes,
I think their non-disclosures have come through, right? That's why.
It's just very difficult to say, well, we can't say for sure. Oh, shut up. Yes, you can. You just will not. But now everybody's got one of these. And people are getting their own sightings, and they're putting it out there.
What is interesting, as you said, astronauts and so, statistics shows that about 9% of American astronomers have seen UFOs. 9% of astronomers.
That's pretty substantial.
Guess the percentage on pilots. I bet you it's close to 100.
Excuse me, please repeat.
Yes.
Pilots.
Yes.
Get the percentage on pilots. I bet you it's closer to 100. They're very. You'd be hard pressed to find a pilot that hasn't had a sighting, and they've spoken up, but they're not recorded because there's so many of them.
Yes, exactly. But what happened, after this hearing, it became clear that they now have in place, say, a report form for that kind of sighting. And they encourage the pilots to fill in this and not deny it. So it's a kind of a watershed change here.
Well, for everybody, now they're saying, we want to know your experiences. So it went from Men in Black showing up at your door saying, don't say a word, to we want to know.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's really something new.
I understand the concern. Not all of these UAPs / UFOs can be determined. They don't all know what it is. They want to make sure it's nothing, another military establishment not coming into the airspace. I completely understand all of that. But at least now, maybe they'll stop discrediting everybody who's having sightings, because it is a lot of the average people who are out there who are seeing things out of the blue, taking photos and like, oh, what's this? I think the eyes are on the sky a little bit more now.
Yes, definitely. I think also. So I found it very. I'm not a great expert on UFOs myself, but I find it encouraging that the Congress had this
It's a
hearing.
step.
So, yes,
It's a step.
definitely. Yeah.
Do you find any connections with UFOs and the paranormal?
Obviously, there are connections there because many of
Mm,
those people having had this kind of sightings have, say, felt telepathic connections. And also,
mhm,
Jacques Vallée mentioned a very famous case from France. It was a doctor. He was not just a kind of normal doctor. He was kind of what is called professional for the whole county south in France.
mhm,
And he had some kind of illness. I don't remember exactly what kind of illness it was, but he had a sightings of two UFOs in his garden. And
mhm.
suddenly there came some kind of ray from one of those into his abdomen. And
Oh,
after that, he was healed.
wow.
Yes.
There we go. There's a lot of stories of healing. People have been healed from their cancers and other
Mm.
life-threatening diseases or illnesses. So I don't think all the stories are bad by any means.
No, no, no.
But
And,
then
and
the sleep paralysis thing is a big one that keeps coming up with
yes.
parapsychologists will have their view, with
Mm,
science, the paranormal
mm,
has their view. And again,
mm,
ufology has its views. This is
yes.
happens just before a sighting,
Mm,
whereas the paranormal say, no, that's just, the hag syndrome, something is pushing down
mm,
on your chest. This is a
yes.
demon. This is,
Mm,
it
mm,
just, it goes on. There just seems to
mm.
be little tidbits of
and
similarities.
and of course they are not mutually exclusive, those aspects. They can
Right,
complement each other also, because not
right.
every sightings are somehow have connected with it paranormal phenomenon other than the sighting itself.
Mhm,
And most kind of, as I said, my focus in my book is mainly on say clairvoyance and telepathy and precognition, and also to
mhm,
some extent healing and psychokinesis. And these phenomena are, say, statistically speaking, not very closely linked to UFO sightings,
mhm,
even if many healers have had that kind of sightings also. So it's not a, say, necessary connection. So as I said, I think we have to the famous physicist Niels Bohr, quantum pioneer. He said he had a kind of a motto. It was in complementaribus veritas. In the complementarity, there is the truth. So I think we
mhm,
have to be open to many aspects, and that can run parallel to each other.
mhm. I agree. I
Mm.
agree with you. We have to do a station and sponsor ID
Yes,
Okay.
I'm right
with us
here
that time.
waiting for you
Yeah.
to finish
Okay.
up.
Yes.
Okay, you are listening right now to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from, oh, actually pre-recorded
Okay. Well,
tonight
we are
from,
live. No, we are live
oh,
on one channel.
we are
Yep,
live
one channel.
in New Orleans on
Yes.
105.3 FM. We have Dr. Simonsen in the house tonight, returning guest, and our conversation's always fascinating when he's here. Stream or listen to our archives on any platform that you normally use. A big shout out and thank you to the amazing people at Folgers Coffee sponsoring our show from day one. We love you and we thank you so much. Also, a huge thank you for our intro and outro and his voice, Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, Justin Snicker, award-winning composer and musician. You can find his music on Amazon and Bandcamp, and find him on Facebook and Instagram. Check him out.
There we go. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. You were making mention of of shamans.
Yes.
Do you find that because I get stories all the time that the indigenous people
Mm.
have more experiences? And if so, do you think it's because they're just more tuned in to the
Mm.
planet, to the earth, to
Mm.
just nature on average?
Mm. Yes,
Mm,
that is a very important aspect, and also there is. Again, it is a complicated theme, but I think the openness is there, and the lifestyle also. As I use as an example, if you're the Sami tradition, Sami is the say native people of north of Norway. It's probably they are coming from Siberia or from Mongolia, even say many thousand years ago. But they have a very strong tradition for these phenomena. And if you are, for instance, they are famous for herding reindeer, on the tundra, or what they call it. So if you are out in the night, and you see just snow all along, and there is the reindeer, they have went to sleep, you can hear the breathing, the soft and then calm breathing of the herd of reindeer, and it's just the snow, and up is the stars and the moon, that kind of meditative state, you will be more open to subtle impressions from the soul, or this mental internet, as I call it, than if you are in New York and cars all around and flashy ad boards all. So the disturbance is much less in a traditional, say, indigenous lifestyle. If you find in the Amazon jungle, or in the tundra, in the polar areas, or if you go to the Kalahari Desert with the Bushmen, or the Australian desert with the Aboriginals, So I think that both the culture and the lifestyle is, say, predisposed, make you predisposed for these phenomena. But then you have this interesting aspect from Rudolf Steiner, the father of anthroposophy. I think many will know Steiner through the Waldorf school, and also and also biodynamical agriculture, where you use natural fertilizer, and you somehow cultivate the earth in a spiritual manner. So Rudolf Steiner, a very great spiritual teacher, and also he was inspired by theosophy from Madame Helena Blavatsky, and also lots of different European esoteric traditions. And he said, yes, these old shamans, they had these abilities very strong, but they had not developed the abilities for mathematics. They had not developed the abilities for, say, conceptual philosophy and all that. And he felt, he might be wrong in that. Of course, that is up for discussion, definitely. But his view of history was that we went from this, say, spiritual existence, where you had these abilities, and then you have to learn mathematics, learn philosophy, learn mastery of the physical world, as we have done here in the West, and then we have to again open to spiritualize our science and to spiritualize our egos and all that. So he felt it was a long line of development there. So, for instance, Norway's most famous psychic earlier, he was called Marcello Haugen, extremely impressive guy, and there's written a lot about him, and he convinced lots of doctors about his abilities as a healer and a clairvoyant. But he had, according to Steiner, this guy, who was very respected here in Norway, he had this old kind of clairvoyance, because he was not very clever with philosophy, and he was not a very modern man in many ways. He was a very, in the best sense of the word, a very primitive soul in living in close contact with nature and all that. So Rudolf Steiner, it was strange, as I found it first, was critical of this guy. And I found that he felt that this guy had this primeval, original clairvoyance, but have not been willing to develop it into a kind of modern kind of clairvoyance. This might seem far-fetched or too theoretical and so, but perhaps it's a way to somehow legitimize our Western perspective that, yes, we lost something by leaving the traditional indigenous cultures that the shamans still are into a large degree, but we gained something also, and now we have to get back what we have lost. And again, in complementaribus veritas, in complementarity, we have the truth. So that might be say perspective where you can include both the say traditional spirituality and also modern science and mathematics and philosophy and that kind of things. So I tend to somehow like Steiner's perspective there, but I will not say, of course, it's the only way to view this. We can say it's we have lost so much, we must go back. But you cannot invent the television, you cannot uninvent the telephone, you cannot uninvent the car, and so it seems to we rather have to go forth than to go back in a way.
Yeah, I agree. I also think when we get back, oral history, I believe you go way back,
Yes,
pre religious mindsets. And a lot of the indigenous, again, let's go back to the Druids. Not a lot
yes,
were known about them because they had to say within oral history. There's not a
yes.
lot of writings out there. Again, the pagans, we get into our North American indigenous all over the world. Why is it like you make mention? Well, okay, mathematics, science, it never mattered to these people. They
No.
were always in touch. They would see something that looked unusual, like we call them cryptids, like
Yes.
we can get into Bigfoot. We'll use that one as an
Yeah,
example because, when you're living in these remote areas, chances are you're going to see something along those lines. It was quite normal to them. Like, the little people,
yes,
they would
yes.
just see them, they would exist with them. They were aware of them. If you go back even further to Druids, you're dealing with the Fae. Like,
Mm,
these were all
mm,
acceptable. It was just all acceptable. But in
mm,
comes academia. No,
mm,
these abilities now get pushed aside because you have to learn
mm.
science, you have to learn mathematics, which where is the place of these things of academia or
But
academics
again,
within spirituality?
but things always start with a question and a lack, as you say. We pose the
Yes.
question of where is it. So that
Yeah.
question will again make us more open to it. And as we know, and I quote in my book also, several quantum physicists are open to these aspects. So
Yeah.
and also if you go into some parts of modern physics, you have a multi-dimensional world. So you
Mhm.
can there might be a place for fairies. They might be in a parallel world that somehow on some level interacts with our but
Mhm.
still on their own premises in a way. So I think modern physics can, strangely enough perhaps, but reopened the portals to these worlds. It might be able to at least.
Well, I agree. I was going to say maybe it's a dimensional thing.
Yes,
Maybe, that some of these beings do just come in and out of portals. Either
yes,
way, all of these more primitive people who were not, like you say, affected by, the technology or being in large cities, were having these experiences and were
mm,
coexisting with
mm,
not just some of these beings, but there's a lot of documentation about them coexisting with beings from the stars.
mm.
So again, dimensional, interdimensional,
Mm.
multidimensional. Are we getting to multiverses? Are we getting
Yes, yes, yes. I tend to like that perspective because
Yes,
if you go back to Jacques Vallée and the famous
yes,
astronomer and
yes.
ufologist, he was
Mhm.
one of the first that somehow he was one of the first somehow what's it called doing serious science about these phenomena. But then he was also and by that he was kind of heretic within the
Right,
scientific community. But
right,
then he became heretic in the ufologist community as well,
right.
because he said they are not from the Pleiades, as you all believe. They are from a parallel dimension.
Right.
And I feel that this seems to be a more, because it seems that something like pops in and pops out again. It
Yes.
seems like if I have my one hand here, can we see it on the screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, here it is. Those hands, they are somehow interconnected, but they are still
Mhm.
separate.
Right,
They share a meeting point, but
right.
also lots of separate. So two dimensions somehow slide into each other like that, and then they slide out again. So I think it kind of multidimensional hypothesis seems to be the most fruitful here. But of course, it's extremely complicated. I can just recommend the work of Jacques Vallée because he is a genius. So yeah,
it's very good theory. Even our producer will laugh when he talks about ghosts and spirits, and he'll call them dimensional bleed-throughs.
Yes,
I tease him about it. I'm going, oh, dimensional bleed-through, but realistically,
it's his only answer.
Viable.
But it's his only answer.
I know it's his only answer. Okay. He's got a science degree, so of course he's going to lean.
I'm still questioning that one, Joe.
But it would make sense in a way.
I tend to think so, and on one level, I also tend to think that you said everything in a way can be understood as vibrations, and also I think information somehow is the most transcendent category. So I tend to think that both space, time, causality is somehow a derivative from information. And if that information is there, it can manifest in that world or in that world or in that time or that time. So we tend to somehow get fixed into our. That is a kind of old philosophy from Immanuel Kant, that space and time, it's our matrices. It's the way our consciousness make an intelligible world for us. But it does not mean that from some deepest perspective they are not all that real. It's just our way of viewing things. So both the central categories was were space, time, and also causality. And we if you have a car crash, for instance, where did it happen? Space. When did it happen? Time. What was the reason? Causality. You place everything you experience within time, space, and a cause. But that is it's how we work in our day-to-day life. But as I said, the deepest reality might be much more, say, complex, but also simple in a way. As I said, for instance, my body is an expression of information. Which information? Of course, my genetical code. So my physical body is, in a way, more real than my genetical code, because you can touch it. You cannot touch my genetical code. But on another level, it's less real than my genetical code, because this body will die, but I might have been able to pass on my genetics to my children.
That's right.
Yes. So that kind of information as a transcendent category is very appealing to me, at least, and think it might be able to explain much more than just the simple, say, example I used here with my body.
So do you think we're living maybe simultaneous realities? Some people will tell you we had two realities. One's kind of like messed up, like this one, with war and all of this hardship. Whereas they say we're living, potentially there's a simultaneous reality. It kind of feels like it has a matrix feel to it. It's like we got sidetracked somehow and something split, and now there's this other reality that where we should be.
Yes,
we're getting into that looking glass thing.
Yes. It's extremely. I tried to use quite a lot of time on multidimensionality, and seen interviews with famous physicists, and so there are so many theories here, So some people say that if it really is another dimension, then you wouldn't know about it, because then it could not connect in any way to our dimension. So that might exist, but per se, by definition, you will never know about it, because otherwise it had been somehow part of your own extended dimension. So I'm a simple guy in that I want to describe phenomena that are usually overlooked within science. But there are so many possible, that's also a philosophy of science. It's a theorem that you have a set of data, but that set of data can be explained from the perspective of many theories. So which one is correct or most correct, I'm not the guy to say. It's as they say, it's beyond my pay grade.
Right. No, I love bouncing different ideas around.
Oh yes,
because there is so much out there, but there's a lot of our listeners are all different levels of their own beliefs, and sometimes you get some pretty interesting questions come through. So just trying to get in there and spread it around a little bit. So as we're slowly coming up to the end of the show, what do you have coming up? Are you writing another book? Because I know this other one was like full, but you leave a
Well,
lot of room for growth in it, like to keep going.
yeah, I might have told you I'm in the process of getting. It was originally a number of years ago written in Norwegian, and it was quite laborsome to get it translated into English and released. It was first released by a quantum physicist, English retired. He was living in Italy, and then it's like now in 2020 it came on Watkins, and last autumn it came out in Czechia. And now a Spanish publisher is looking at it. So
Wow.
I feel somehow my task is to spread the word as far as I
In
can.
different languages.
Yes, that is one. And also I work on some other project of a more mundane nature,
Right.
But as related to these themes, I feel that spreading the word as far as possibly can by participating in your wonderful show, for instance. Yes. And also there's a practical aspect of this, because the chapter 9 of the book is about intuition, and as opposed to many, I believe not that intuition is just capitalizing on early experience. I think true intuition can be opening up for clairvoyance, telepathy, and all these kind of paranormal abilities. So how to use your intuition in a powerful and fruitful way. As I say, which job to apply for, which city to move to, which people to hang out with, which subject to study. As I said, my friend today is studying this animal psychology, and suddenly being able to answer on serotonin and melatonin, things she hadn't. So she was able to use her intuition in a very fruitful way to pursue her goals in that direction, apparently. So the practical aspect, as used the metaphor with the violin again, I try to learn to better how to play my existential violin using these abilities in my daily life. That is also a very important aspect. It's
evolution,
not just
right?
Yes, personal evolution, and getting more fine-tuned and being more able to communicate better when I meet with people, and what is the need of that person, and that person might have perhaps an illegitimate need, then I can detect that more easily also, to use this full register of my soul in a better way, So I try parallel with my book and the theoretical aspect, there is this very practical aspect of the paranormal as well.
Right. So basically keep working on awareness and evolution. And I think it all comes down to the collective consciousness, what you put into it, what you can pull out of it. You put something, positive vibrations, positive frequency, positive thoughts. You should be able, and you should work on having that come
Yes,
back.
it tend to be kind of echo effect on these things.
Right. And for those, and in closing, because we come across a lot of people who do this, a lot of people in the paranormal who think that they've got a lot of things going on from a paranormal standpoint, let's say, disruptive energies or spirits, are actually projecting energy, which of course we call psychokinesis. What would be your recommendation on identifying it? Because a lot of people have never heard of it. I try to be quite delicate, and I'll send people a link to psychokinesis and say, if you see this, because Neely and I have talked about this a lot, we've got to be delicate with this. So I'll send a link and say, if you see any similarities in here, you may want to consider exploring.
I don't think they're reading it.
Yes.
It's like if you have a dead drunk person entering a room complaining about the stench of alcohol.
Right.
Yes.
right.
So he brings it with him into the room in a way.
Yes.
We need to use that metaphor.
I know. You need to identify it.
Yes.
You need to identify it, and then
deal with it. I say my way in this has involved quite a lot of therapy, because as I said, I come from kind of difficult background, so I suffered a lot of anxiety and depressions and neurosis and all that. So I worked with a wise transpersonal therapist for several years. It was extremely helpful for me.
Right.
And then you find where am I? Where's the other person? Where's my say bodily? Where's my breathing, my grounding, my center, and all that kind to get to know yourself better. So a good transpersonal therapist open for these aspects of reality, I would recommend that. Also meditation, as we discussed, this binaural beats can be very helpful. And also get a dog and walk the dog in the nature, and hug a tree and really feel the vibes. Yes. So it's there, but you have to use it. Again, the violin, if it just lays there and you don't use it and you don't train, of course you don't make any false notes, but you don't make any true notes either. So you have to put yourself out there and work on things. As I said, a good therapist is a good way to start, and also a kind of spiritual practice for my yoga, meditation, and like that. But always link it up more or less to sound and harmonious other people, because what you can get in the exchange will be invaluable for, say, discerning yourself as a growing person. So some people, I know people, some just smoking hash, is sitting meditating down in a cellar. I don't believe that's the most harmonious. You have to connect with the world in a way. And as I said, a dog, a nature, a therapist will be very helpful for many people.
Right. Excellent. Thank you. So lastly, tell everybody how to find your book.
Yes, this beautiful covered book can be found on Amazon. I think that's the most convenient place to find it. And my name is Terje Simonsen or Simonsen. And the book is called A Short History of Nearly Everything Paranormal.
Right. I love it. I love it. I'll make sure that the link does go into it will be everywhere that you can get the show, anywhere in the description. So just go look for it, and your social media is there also, so people can reach out at that point.
Yes.
Get a singing bowl.
I gotta go get mine.
I know. Get a singing bowl. Let's get on that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And I will be in touch. And this will air this evening, and you'll be able to see all the comments. It will air even in the Facebook stream, everywhere where there'll be comments there for you to go and check out when you're in a different time zone.
Yes, as you sleep.
Exactly.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, beautiful. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye. Good night. Well, we have come to the end of another amazing segment. He's always such a pleasure to have on. So big thank you to him for joining us this evening. If you guys have any questions, pop them in, because he will be able to go and check it out. We'll make sure that we get the link over to him, and that way he can respond directly. So remember to subscribe wherever it is you're going to be watching this. Please go in and subscribe. Next week, we are going to be bringing back Sean Williamson and Wayne Murphy. They're going to be talking about Team Templar North America. And that essentially is going to be hit and miss, because it can only say so much, but it's a project that Amelia and I are proudly a part of. Hamilton White is partly a part of it as well. And I can tell you, it's some fascinating things going on in Wisconsin. So please tune in. Next Thursday, we welcome back Charles. Oh, I don't know if we welcome back Charles Christian. I think I may have been presumptuous on that.
No, it is next.
Oh, it is. Okay, good. Because
no,
it's not.
No, it's
See,
Toby
look at
Johnson.
that, guys. I did a big faux pas. It's actually Toby Johnson and Brett Eisenberger, and they're going to be talking about their Bigfoot documentary. Yes, that's going to be pretty wild, because I have been, just Googling and researching, and it looks pretty fascinating. So we haven't done a Bigfoot crypto thing in a while. So this is going to be kind of cool. Anxious to see what they've got going on there. So tonight, catch Amelia and I in chat, and I will be in the soundboard to get your comments and questions up. And we will see what we can do moving along with respects to getting what we can answered. So until tonight, guys, behave yourselves.